But Mike, I
And
got bills to pay. I got a
I,
developer. I got an invoice coming in for like 15 grand. I got to pay some people.
yeah, they don't care.
Yeah,
They're
I know.
like, they're just trying to figure it out. At least you don't have everybody on summer holiday trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Maybe
true.
you'll get it by the end of the month or middle of November. I would
Yeah,
say
I
that's
mean,
probably the most.
it'll happen when it happens. I'm not flat broke yet, but I just keep watching my bank account go down and down and down and down and down.
Awesome. I love it. It's so great.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Yay.
you know,
Why don't I just go get a job? Make my life easy.
because they suck.
Yeah, I know. I know. Trust me, man. Like the fun thing with this stuff is I keep talking to not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends that are just so unmotivated to work. And yeah, granted they're actually making money, but a lot of them are kind of, the work side of their life seems pretty depressing to them. And I
Yeah.
wake up every morning and I'm like, I'm excited to knock things off my checklist still. This is, for me, this is the right feeling. Like there's so much uncertainty, but it's, I haven't been this happy to work this hard for ever.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I know I'm still early days, but I'm all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ignorant.
No. That's the motivation you need, right? I mean, I think like my perspective is just I did it for 6 years, and I have to remember that like all this is for myself. And I think like once I'm going to get a client, that's going to feel a lot better, like once I get that first payment from someone. But right now there's so many things of setting up, and I feel like I'm not progressing because I'm learning such low level skills to get there. And I've also been sick for fucking like 6 weeks. I got a cold for your bachelor party that like hasn't gone away, turned into a sinus infection. Like it's just like, you just can't, I don't know. You're just not yourself when you're sick. Right. So it's like, you just want to get better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you can power through and you can do stuff, but it's just not the same,
Yeah. And you're not motivated. I mean, I'm not motivated when I'm sick to do the things that keep me motivated. Like, moving around, I just kind of want to be lazy. And that is a dark circle that sucks me in very quickly.
Yeah. So,
But it's
okay.
I have friends that'll call me fat when they see me. So that's a motivator to move.
Well, I don't have any friends that see me, so that's fine.
Well, there you go. You want to take a step back and a little twirl for the camera?
Nope. Not a chance. Not a chance. This body is a temple. No. No, I think like, once I get these guys kind of confirmed and have a deposit and all that kind of stuff, get the contract signed for what we're going to be doing and all that, I think it's great. It's definitely going to feel like, okay, well now we have stuff. But like I kind of started doing that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Number one, they're friends and stuff. And number two, it's, providing value early to make sure they kind of understand that like, I'm not going to dick them around. I'm going to work with them, But
so what's going on with that? Because you mentioned when we were texting that, you're trying to wrangle these folks together, and like, in your opinion, what's the holdup?
I think we're having a bit of communication breakdown for sure. I would rather provide more information and more context when I send an email, and I think they would like to have less, but that'll just lead to like more emails, right? Like multiple small emails instead of one big one.
Dude, why don't you just get on a call?
First thing. Well, so I've tried to organize 3 of them, and 3 of them haven't happened.
Okay.
So that's like, and then there are also multiple partners, and one of the partner, like someone has always been on vacation. A couple people are part-time versus full-time. Everyone has their hand in like multiple projects, and it's hard to understand like who to ask the question to, because it's everyone's responsibilities kind of bleed into each other. And I think that's like, at the end of the day, that's pretty normal if you don't build a structure right on and you have a lot of part-time people. Like the full-time people end up having to do more than the part-time people, like,
of course,
it's kind of normal. But it just like, it makes it rather difficult to confirm a couple of things. And so even trying to organize things. Like things just get lost in like a group chat. And so I don't know. I'm
So,
just trying to learn how to communicate with people in a way, I guess, even though it's way more inefficient, more emails will be better than less
you know,
with
this
less
is this
text.
is this is probably pretty obvious to you, but it doesn't sound like it's happened yet. Like when I was working at Traction, the biggest issue that we had with projects was that there were too many, like basically too many people providing input to the team, right? So you get contradicting statements. I mean, if this is happening before you start working, it's going to be worse when you start. What, like if this is going to happen, you absolutely need to have yourself like what we would always refer to as like the client representative. So you just ask that one person the question, and then it's up to them to get you the information. Like it's not your job to herd cats here; it's your job to provide value, and you can't do that efficiently if you can't get the information. So let them deal with it internally, and then it's, hey, I asked you this. If this is wrong, we'll fix it, and it'll cost you more. But this is what you told me, right?
Yep. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just a matter of we're friends. So there's like sorting through that sort of relationship and not being too, do it this way because that's what I said and all that kind of jazz. Like it
Of
just needs
course,
to like it's more about learning the way of speaking with a bunch of other people that, they're in need of help, right?
yeah.
So they're in need of help. They're overwhelmed. There are things that, like, as I pull on different threads, I can see that things aren't done properly. And so, one of the main things is we need to make sure that those things get fixed. But that's not part of my responsibility, and that's not part of the cost that I associated with me helping you.
Yeah, it's out of
So,
scope.
exactly. But
But that's awesome actually, because what you do is you work on the first scopes, like to give unsolicited advice, you work on the first scope, and then at the end of it you go, here are all the other things you need to work on. We can work on those if you want.
yeah, I think so. I mean, there are some things that are just like not things I want to touch, like sorting their QuickBooks or whatever. Like I don't want to do that.
No.
But the data has to be inputted in a specific way so that we can track things. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge modification to the way that they have to track their costs. So that's not a me thing. That's them internally as they move forward, right? So it's just clarifying, like, hey guys, like we're setting this up, but if you don't follow through, this will feel like a waste because
Okay.
it won't have the right information moving forward. So yeah, we can start over and we can build it and it can look great, but now that has implications on all of these things.
So, um, if you want, I don't know what they've seen so far, but what you're describing to me is basically this is this becomes problematic if your statement of work isn't extremely clear on all these points. And that's like this is that second legal offering company that I'm sort of starting on the side.
Mm-hmm.
This is a part of that, right? Because the biggest problem with projects is the documentation doesn't explicitly contain things that are going to directly impact the project. And so if you want, I'm happy to sit down with you and help you to draft this statement of work based on what you're telling me, because an item like that with your QuickBooks and then getting it sorted out is critical to your success. So that needs to be outlined in the statement of work and say, this needs to be done by this date. Who is responsible within your organization to do it? And not to be punitive. And it's going to take them this much time to do it so that they know internally that they can actually get this stuff done. Because there's nothing worse than starting a job and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, I don't have time to do all the things that we need to. And so if they don't have sign off on that internally, what that does is it holds up your project and it costs you money because it takes you more time. And all you want to be able to do is offer effectively a change order for it, right? It's like, look, this took this was supposed to be done by week 3. It's not done by week 3. Because this isn't done, it's going to kick the project out another 2 weeks. So we need to change order the project, and now it's going to cost you more.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think
part of the conversation that you need to have with them when you're drafting this document for them to sign off on is like, this is the amount of time. I don't want you to sign this until you can confirm internally that they will be required to do this over this much time. And this is the person, and they can agree to do that. Because if they can't agree to do it, then we've got to fix this before we start, or else it's going to screw up the whole process.
Yeah, and I think that's what the call needs to be focused on, right? Like I did a very simple thing in terms of what it is, what the scope of the services are, and what the client agrees to provide to make sure that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not just what the client needs to provide, it's when they need to provide it by, and you need to tell them how many hours it's going to take them to do that.
Well, the thing is that this is a long-term change of the way they operate the business. That's
Mm-hmm.
not like, it doesn't reflect like I will be able to build an entire recipe book and costing platform and everything for them. But if they don't change the way that it is inputted into their accounting, they won't have relevant data. So it's like an infinite amount of time for them to do it because it's now how they have to change the way they move forward. They just have to educate the right person to input the data correctly.
Yeah. So that needs to be done by what day?
Well, it is like needs to be done on the regular once everything is set up.
No, I know, but it's like that needs to be flagged immediately so that they can allocate, okay, this person is in charge of this,
Right.
and they're going to do it, and they have to do it weekly. And so that they have time budgeted for that in their, within their organization. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is you go in, you set everything up, and then all of a sudden you don't have people who are responsible for doing it. And then it just sits there idle and it goes by the wayside. Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, like my goal is to build this thing for them and teach their team how to use it, as well as do a quick non-accounting audit of their finances and see to make sure that we're tracking the right things, and then maybe that leads to other services, or maybe that leads to them sorting something else out internally. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that said, like they're aware they need to change things. They're not unaware.
Yeah.
You know, they know that there are certain things that have to change. They know there are certain people that have to change their responsibilities and things like that. So, I just want to make sure that as I'm going through this process, I'm detailing what to do with the next person.
Yeah.
And
No,
the contract will get better and better over time, and it'll be clearer and clearer as I run into more surprise problems.
yeah. I mean, if you want, I'm happy to sit down and take like a critical view of the statement of work that you're doing with them to
Yeah,
help
sure. I
move
can
it
send it
forward.
to you later.
Yeah, let me know, and we can go through it together. I did this with my buddy Nick for his company as well. He does UI UX design stuff,
Hmm.
and yeah, it obviously I don't know your business and I don't really know the details of what you're doing, but sometimes having a critical eye on the documents can help clarify things before.
Yeah, we can do it in a way that we're not recorded and publicizing all that financial
Yeah, no,
information.
no, of course, we're not going to
Um,
do it on this, but yeah,
but
just send me over what you have for them, and then
yeah, sure.
I'll note it up, and we can hop on a call and discuss it.
Yeah, sure. And then yeah, I mean, it's when that's going to get rolling. Then I have a marketing team that I'm working with now. That's going to be kind of my major expense out of the entire business. I would like to. My target is basically to get like a client a month for this kind of service, and so probably won't be able to get 3 more clients this year. But if I can get one more, that would be nice. Um, but we'll see. Like, there's a lot of stuff. Like, as I'm learning more and more about how marketing works, I understand a little bit more why we need to direct money in certain places and what the timelines will be and things like that. So,
What have you learned? I'm just starting down that road now.
well, like for one thing, what I'm understanding is that you basically want to have your website at the center of a spider web, and you want to have as many little branches that go out that redirect you to your website, right? So whether that's a social media thing or a link in another blog that sends you back, called a clickback, there are just like a bunch of different ways to get traffic to your website. And at the end of the day, that's the priority: is get traffic to your website as fast as you can, as much as you can, because you're only going to convert 1 to 2% of people that come.
Yeah.
And so volume equals work, and that's it. And so like how much money do you need to spend and where do you need to direct that? Like one marketing person I'm speaking with is like, it's all about cold outreach. The other person is, it's all about warm outreach. The other person is, it's all about SEO like results and making sure that your website clicks, but then your website has to be set up properly for that to be able to happen. So it all kind of comes back to, you need like an excellent functional website that describes everything and is able to look like the resource for someone that is looking for help.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And when that happens, then you're more likely to convert. I think the one of the hard things I think a lot of people would probably run into is, when I was I don't remember if we talked about this already or not, but I was sharing some stuff of like Alex Hormozy ideas and, like different call to actions of being like, sign up now. And do you want growth or you don't want growth or whatever? And someone was kind of turned off by that as a way to market, right? But I think they're probably not in pain, so they're not looking for help. I think most people that would read that would be like, yeah, it's kind of like a silly marketing thing, but whatever, I'm interested, so I'm going to click it anyways. I don't think that's like, I think probably 2% of people, 3% of people are going to read that and be like, I don't like this. Bye-bye. Because
Yeah,
of that
fine.
specific marketing thing.
But that's like your A/B testing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which I need to learn a lot more about how that stuff works. Like I have to finalize the way the website is going to look, and I need a couple more offers to be able to test. Right now, I only have one currently, which is a free strategy call. Uh, and the other thing is,
But just name it something else and see which one people click on. Have two.
yeah, for sure.
Same
But I
thing.
have to start getting traffic to the website first, right?
Yeah, that fair
So
enough.
like I need to do that, and so I need to set that up, and that means I have to run ads, which means I have to spend money, which means then I got to do it all over again to then test to see if it works. And it's just like
Yeah,
it does sometimes feel like a bit of a money sink, but I think that's part of the game when you're learning, right?
absolutely.
And the other thing that I've had a hard time kind of reconciling is like being the salesman, like that salesman-y kind of thing or whatever. Like I don't necessarily like, I don't think I have all the answers, but I think I do have some answers. And one thing that's helped me kind of frame that and get behind the idea of being a consultant is that, do I think that I have value that I can provide to somebody that will make their situation better? Yes or no? And I do. I think if I was to be hired as a chef, I would approach this in a slightly different way, but all of these things would still be part of what I would bring as a chef and a
Yeah.
partner to another business. And so in that way, it's just about now being comfortable with framing it differently,
Mhm.
as a service offering, as a project, as a consulting like it's a very different way to frame it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I see it as you might approach it differently if someone was hiring you as a chef, but the reality is you have sold this before to your other jobs, right? Like not to the same level that you know it now. So it's like, yeah, you're wearing the salesman hat, but the reality is that you're you're the expert who now has to act as a salesman to sell it. Right? You're not just some guy who doesn't know what they're talking about to bring you in later to fix it. Like eventually you'll get to a point where you'll have those types of salespeople, but for the time being, like selling is not greasy if you're selling something that like that is valuable to your target audience, right? And
Exactly.
like I have the same problem is trying to sell people things that are sort of like I talk myself out of work all the time. Like I just had a client on the legal side of things who was asking me to look at, kind of review their documents for next time they have to do a deal. I'm like, look, I'm happy to do it, but it's going to cost you several $100s to do, and you don't have a deal on the horizon to do this. So
Mm-hmm.
when you start, why don't you tell me next time you have preliminary conversations? It'll take me a day to do it. And then at least you'll see some ROI as opposed to it just sitting there. Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, can you do it now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to. I'm just trying to not have more money come out of your pocket before, it's useful to you. But anyway, it's just
I think
selling is
that's interesting.
strange.
I think that's interesting because I feel like I'm having the same problem right now. Like what I was saying, I feel like I need to provide so much context to my responses or to the direction I want to do things or whatever. But it's starting to feel like and again, maybe it's because they're my friends, but like they already trust me. I don't need to provide the context. I just need to provide like this is what I need. And
Yeah.
so if me saying to them, hey, like you're probably going to need to retrain your entire staff, and we can do that at a later date, but like let's focus on this thing right now. And they're like, yeah, we agree with you, and we'll talk about that in a couple months when this is done. And so it sounds very similar to this guy just being like, yeah, but I need you to fix this thing right now. We could talk about it in the future, but like I don't have the brain capacity to think that far ahead right now. I just need to solve this problem.
Yeah, it's the urgent important chart, right? It's like, let's
Yeah.
deal with the urgent important stuff first and work down. I mean, it's I like to do that too with giving context to people, because I do it all the time. But most of the time you don't need it, right? Because when someone's coming to me for professional advice, they don't need me to go into the weeds of some legal nuance. It's just, Richard's in charge of this. Just tell me what I need to do and tell me what you need from me, and we'll call it a day. That's why I'm hiring you. Because, you know, very few people actually care enough to know the ins and outs to understand it. Those people, give them all the context they want. They're happy to chat about it. But most of the people are just like, I've hired you to deal with this problem for me. Don't talk to me about it. Just tell me when it's done.
Exactly. Exactly. Tell me, like, give me the cliff notes of everything.
Exactly.
And I think, like, at the end of the day, I think what I'm going to start doing is probably writing out my responses and literally taking everything and cutting it down into one line. Every paragraph, if I got 10 paragraphs, it's going to become a 2 paragraph, 8 line email kind of deal. And I'm just going to keep that email, like that draft, available. So when somebody comes back to me and says, oh, okay, so like, can you explain, 2, 5, and 9 to me? It's just copy paste and the work is already done.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to doing it the other way of like writing it out, deleting it, whatever, like just keep it so that it's available. And
Yeah.
slowly but surely over time, I'll have enough resources that'll have answers to all the questions. That becomes an FAQ on the website. Boom, like, problem solved.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So,
I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? Because I had my first I have my first legal client for that implementation thing. We had our kickoff meeting yesterday,
mhm.
and the kickoff meeting was at like 9:30 or something in the morning, and I realized, I was like, I should probably spend a little time thinking about what I want to talk about on this call, so I don't look like a complete fool. So now I have my kickoff meeting thing. I'm just doing it as everything is coming up, because there's no way that I'm going to have, like, I don't have time to think about what I'm going to need. It's just like, oh, this is happening. I need this now.
Yeah, the first conversation I had about helping these guys out was having beers at a friend's birthday party. Like
Yeah.
there was no like script, no plan. It was just me talking about it. And so now that it's live and they're immediately interested in it, it was a completely different thing. Now I have to approach it as, okay, like let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What am I saying? What am I selling? I had 2 meetings with them. There's 5 partners, and I've only spoken with 3 of them, and one of them's on vacation right now.
Yeah.
So it's more about what I've been trying to do is really figure out like what are the like 10 things I need to ask that will answer like 70 to 80% of who I need to talk to and what's the direction that we're going in. And that's
Yeah.
it. Because that's really, at the end of the day, I need to just get the answers from that specific person and get the information, and that's it, and move on and do the work.
Yeah. I mean, I can, I don't know if it's helpful, but I'm happy to share what I did with this client that I started with yesterday.
Yeah, do it.
And I just did it because this is what people used to do at Traction. Basically what it was, I was introduced to this CEO, this tech company, for some legal related work and whatever. So I started chatting with her about the like this offering that I'm doing. And then I sat down with her. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Here's a rundown. Are you interested in doing this for your organization? If I do a good job, give me a testimonial and we'll move on. Right. And so what I did with her, I sat down and it's a little bit easier within, like, I don't know how this would apply to a restaurant, but it's a little bit easier. Like, it's easy within a tech company because I say, okay, the people who I need to speak to are the executive committee because their strategy. But then I also need to talk to the person who's in charge of your finance department. I need to talk to the person who's in charge of your sales. I need to talk to the person who's in charge of basically like product delivery and implementation, because those three different people are going to have a different perspective on what legal risks they can assume. And like negotiating a sales deal all feeds into them. So I'm like, who are these people? Perfect. She gives me a list of people. We got on a call yesterday. We did the kickoff. They have questions for me. And now what I'm doing is I'm having one-on-one conversations with each of them to figure out what the strategy piece is, to figure out like what we need to do in order to be able to customize what they need from the organization. But so I'll get input from all of them, and each of them will stay in their lane. And so when I have questions related to something within their lane, I'll talk about it. But ultimately, the CEO is the one who's going to sign off on everything. She's my point person, right? Like she will say, okay, make sure, I don't know, Bob and Sally sign off on this. And if they're good with it, I'm good with it. That's totally fine with me to delegate it. But I'm not going to run around trying to figure out who has the approval authority to give me the info that I need. And then later on, if something changes and they're like, actually, no, this isn't what we meant by it, it's like, no problem. Like, we'll go through that. But I already flagged all this stuff to you and you said it was good to go. So I'm not pointing fingers. We'll fix it. But just know that this is because this is what I was told, because I'm a lawyer. I'm not a developer. So if the developer tells me that this isn't an issue, to me, it's not an issue. So it sounds to me that you kind of have to get like who's in charge of what. And it sounds like they all bleed into each other. But it's like, for the purpose of this project, I don't really care about the day-to-day. Tell me who's supposed to be in charge of what. Because I'm sure like it's a small business. Everyone's doing everything, right?
Everyone is doing everything. And like the email I have is specifically like info at the company. And I will get responses back from everyone that has their hands in it. And so it's just kind of like, and again, these are friends. So it's like, I'm trying to, since we've known each other for so long, I know their personalities a little bit. So like, I kind of know like how to move it and how to talk about it and stuff, but it's just, I don't know. It's just tricky because it's not exactly how I thought it was going to go down, and that's okay. Cause it's teaching me like a new set of skills, a new way to communicate, right? Since both of us are coming from a perspective of like, we want to provide a lot of context, a lot of value in one thing, because you and I think when someone says something, we're immediately okay, well, what does that mean? Whatever that person said, what does that mean? Right. And what's the next logical thing that I'm going to ask about? But I think a lot of people aren't going that far, 2 or 3 steps down from the problem. Maybe they don't know what the problem is yet. Maybe, it's just overwhelming in general. And since you're already overwhelmed, providing that information and a block of text is like, man, I'm in trouble right now. And this makes me feel like I'm in more trouble.
Yeah.
And I think
that's why emails are terrible, right? Like there's nothing better than an in-person conversation.
Yeah.
Emails are, in my opinion, emails are there to summarize what was discussed and make sure that everyone is clear after the discussion happened, right? Like, and if it's not a yes, no question or like just straight details, emails are terrible, man. Like, especially like you're going through an email chain, best of luck to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was trying to add more information in one email. So there's less things to have to go back over, but it's not working the way that I wanted it to. So I just need to change it and not be like stubborn and keep doing it. I did like the first one I had done was quite long. The second one, like the second and third correspondence were much shorter. And then we missed 3 calls. So I was like, okay, well now I need to provide all the context for why I need answers to these things, because we clearly can't fit our schedules together. So let me just act like as if this was a phone call, and that didn't work. So I got to go
Yeah.
back
Well, I
to
mean, it
this.
sounds like they can't fit their schedules together to get on a call with you, right?
Yeah, I don't want to point fingers at and
No,
like,
no, 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 no. And that, like, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
this isn't a blame game. It's,
yeah,
hey,
no, no.
this isn't working. We can't coordinate everyone. It's slowing down. Tell me who I need to talk to, and I'll let them get the information I need. They're my quarterback for this internally.
I just think they're all like, I think unfortunately they're just all overwhelmed right now.
No, I
You
know.
know, so each one is stepping in, and this is really good as a first group to go through, right? Like I think back to what I was going through about a year and a half ago at this point, and it was like sit down, get all the data for the overall picture, look at it, and be like, where do I need to direct my attention to
Yeah.
fix and like stop the bleeding kind of thing. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just missing a couple of key critical pieces of information to keep going. And I also want to give, they have multiple locations, but I'm trying to get one location settled first and be like, look, guys, this is what this location says. So based on this, you should have X at the end of the year and X at the end of the month if you're hitting this target. You're
Yeah.
not hitting, clearly something's wrong. We assume food cost is the thing to fix. But it may turn out that, food cost is only 35% of the equation. Based on what I can see, it is the problem.
Yeah.
It's like we're not hitting a target that's even remotely close. But labor might be a couple of percent. This might be, this is a couple percent. This is a couple percent. And then all of a sudden, like fixing those things are maybe a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because it's very quickly like looking at the schedule and being like, why do you need 6 people on this day? Cut one person,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's good. The bright side of this is that it's good that you're finding all these problems because, look, if they're having trouble giving you direction to get this sorted out, that definitely means they're having trouble internally for their own direction, right? Like,
yep, absolutely.
it's very reasonable to understand that, a small business is not regimented the way that a giant business is, and everyone doesn't have a lane that they have to stay in. But it's surprising to me that, it's like, this is your role, this is my role, this is so-and-so's role. We're all going to help each other because when, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. But the reality is like, I will take care of my responsibilities first. Once I'm done with that and I have capacity, I will help you with your responsibilities. And if there's a fire that comes up, then we'll all jump on it and put our stuff on hold. But, it would be much better to know who's in charge of what, because that also helps people, like their staff internally, their suppliers. It's like, no, you talk to Mike for all the ordering stuff, and you talk to Rich for, I don't know, who knows what I'm good for, but you know what I mean?
Client relations with
There you
that
go.
smile.
You're gonna make me blush, Mike. Go on.
No, but I think I absolutely, and I think that again, it has to do with me kind of going back to being bros and friends. And because of that, you approach things in a slightly different way. And it's, how do you pivot your friendship relationship to a business relationship? I'm not asking for pennies, I'm asking for a significant amount of money. And so you don't want to, you want them to succeed. At the end of the day, even if they weren't friends, you want them to succeed. But at least you would have a business relationship versus a friendship. And so that,
and I would say a friendship is like, that's more dangerous, right? Because the lines are already blurred. Your buddies, like if things don't go well, that's going to negatively impact the friendship. And
and they've been super open. They've shared a bunch of stuff with me that like, I don't know if I necessarily would share with someone, so, but I think they trust that I'm not going to blast them or share that information. And at the end of the day, the only thing like part of the service contract was being like, you're going to be included in social media things. It will not have particulars in terms of numbers or whatever, but it will say like, the X, Y, and Z business had a problem with food cost and we came in and fixed it. So like, you have to be comfortable with us saying that. And that might lead to some problems early on, but I think once people see results, that it won't be a problem anymore.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's not a matter of like it also depends on how you spin it, right? Because it's, their food costs were X or whatever, like whatever the metric is that you're using,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
brought them to Y, right? Like that's a success story. We made it better,
Yep.
you know, and then it's a metric that you can sell. Like our average client, their food costs are 15% higher than they should be. And we bring the food costs down by 15%. I don't know.
I'm sure every place is like 5% over at least.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's 5% you can save just by implementing like really simple things. But it's about continuing to do it, right? It's not about just being told to do it. It's about like having a monthly check-in for the first couple of months and being like, how's that waste tracking going? Oh, you
Hmm.
didn't do it? So what's your food cost this month? You're not sure?
Yeah.
Let's hop on a call and let's figure it out. Like
And
maybe there's something else we need to do, you know?
And we both know that sometimes it's more complicated than that because maybe one of the owners loves getting good deals. So they will get a good deal from somebody selling shrimp off the back of a truck. And then all of a sudden they've bought, 10 grand worth of shrimp. They sell 2,000, but it was so cheap that they just want to keep it. But then you got to chuck it anyway. So who knows what the root of the cause is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what else are you working on? What's
Oh
going on
man,
with the
it's
Gopher Planet? Did you rename it yet?
no, so I was going back and forth hoping to try and get this, basically trade some legal services for some marketing services from this company that I know a bunch of the people who work there. Anyway, I finally had a conversation with them yesterday and it's not going to work. So I am having another conversation with someone this Friday, and I should be getting a couple of other names for my marketing and rebranding. Well, basically rebranding strategy. So hopefully I can get that done within the next few weeks before we
Planet
launch.
Adventure.
Planet Adventure. Yes, it is nice.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
cool.
so that's coming along now. At least that I was disappointed that I couldn't work with them because I know that they're really good. But at the same time, it's nice to have the door closed and finally know like this is not an option. So let's go to the unfortunately more expensive option from a cash flow perspective. But let's go and get this done, immediately.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Like me settling things with this marketing firm, being presented all of their a la carte options kind of deal, and being like, okay, well, I want this and I want this, and we're not ready for these things, but I want to grow to the point that I will pay you triple what
Yeah.
it is. So I'm not ready yet. Being able to put that into a cash flow and being like, okay, every month I'm going to spend 2 grand now on
Yeah.
stuff. So every month I got to bring in 2 grand at a minimum. That's not getting paid, whatever. But like, if I can bring in 2 grand, I at least bought myself like a year kind of thing.
Exactly. Mike, can you give
So
me 1 second? I'm just going to run to the bathroom quick.
yeah,
I'm
of
going to
course.
pause it. Yeah, no, it's good to finalize and get those numbers sorted out, right? So at least you understand what the hell's going on and you have a clear picture because I'm sure you're going to go through this with your clients, but yesterday on the kickoff meeting, it's like there is no bad information, right? Like facts are good. The more facts you have, the better decisions that you can make.
Yep.
So don't sugarcoat things, just know exactly what they are and get a better idea of whether or not it's going to work. And that's all you can do really.
Yeah, I think don't sugarcoat things is like the key at the end of the day, right? And I think that you don't have to be an asshole and not sugarcoat things. You know what I mean? Like, but I think there will be definitely people that will interpret that as a mean person, and they might kind of take some things personally. But at the end of the day, it's about collecting the data to be able to help them make the right decisions.
Yeah, I think a lot of people especially when you come in from outside and you don't know who they don't know you and they don't have a relationship with you and they don't necessarily trust you because why would you trust a complete stranger? They can feel almost attacked about their work. It's like
Mhm.
that, if things are bad, they don't want you to blame. They think that it might be their fault, and maybe it is their fault, and they don't want to get basically penalized because they showed you that they were doing a bad job, right? So they might sugarcoat it, and it's really like it's a very artful way to figure out how to present things in a way and how to talk to people in a way where they know that they're going to tell you like that it's okay for them to tell you whatever the state of the union is. So what I did, like I'm trying this out. I don't know if this will work,
I like
but
the State of the Union. I like that framing of it.
yeah,
People of Earth. You know, exactly.
I've been watching a lot of Rick and Morty. I'm
I had
excited.
Leanne actually introduce herself or start her talk at her convention this past week in Boston as People of Earth.
That's
And then
amazing.
like walk it back, but she like made it as a joke, and I was like, no, you should do that. You 100% should be like, greetings, Earthlings. Oh, shit, wrong. And like, she did it and got like a bunch. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, you got a bunch of chuckles. People are now paying attention because you made a
Yeah,
joke so easily.
exactly.
Like,
I can't
so,
wait for Mark Zuckerberg to do that next time he addresses.
but he won't correct it. That's the thing. He'll be like, greetings, Earthlings, and we're gonna be like, fuck. We all knew it.
Yeah, but how funny would it be if he just plays into that role?
Oh my god! Especially in the universe.
Yeah. So anyway, so going back to what I'm trying to do as an experiment, we'll see if it works. But what I've done in the statement of work is I tell the companies like I'm going to have one-on-one interviews with everyone who is involved at kind of, in a bigger company, it's at all three tiers. So like boots on the ground management and then strategy, like executive sort of level. And I'm going to talk to them and figure like to collect data to see what the trends are, to see what the one-offs are, the low hanging fruit, et cetera. And then part of the conversations that I'm having with these people, I'm like, look, I'm going to record these videos because I'm going to go back and extract the data out of our conversations. But I am deleting these videos once the project is done and it's signed off. And I'm not sharing these videos with anyone in your organization. Like if they ask me to see, because I need you to speak candidly. So if someone is doing something to mess you up, like I'm not going to put you on blast and risk that happening. I'm just going to collect the data and then aggregate it that way and come up with a summary of findings. Now, I know that some people will say, no, we want to see the videos and see how the interviews are going, but it's not. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with giving those videos away back to the client because it could really negatively impact a relationship. And so hopefully that's enough comfort for them that they know that as a effectively uninvolved third party, they can tell me anything they want and that anything that they say, is basically confidential. And all I need is like, what the problems are, what your ideas are how to fix it. And that's it. So we'll see if it works.
Can't have your reputation be I'm coming in and taking all your secrets and telling the bosses. You'll get like within a couple of contracts, people will know, and you'll just end up not being able to get the right information anymore, and you'll have to start all over.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
100% the right approach.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's anyway. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying out. We'll see if it works. We'll see what. But yeah, I've got my first calls this week, which I'm pretty stoked about. Actually, I've got my first call tomorrow with the one-on-one, so it's coming along. It's a little bit of herding cats to get people to book time, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to. I'm just trying to lock these guys in with a deposit and a contract and all that kind of stuff, and just have it so they understand what's going on. Try to clear the lines of division between within their company. Some people are more responsive than others, and that kind of just puts the project on pause. And I think I just need them to understand that too. Where for 2 weeks I was like, if you provide me with this information, I can get started, but we also got to sort out payment. And now a week later, yesterday, it was like, okay, so where are we at? And I was like, well, you didn't follow up on anything from last Wednesday. Like I can't also be a babysitter.
No, of course not.
And I think that's going to be the hard part, because I think that's what a lot of people are going to need. They're going to need like constant reminders in a way that isn't shitty.
Yeah.
And and
I mean, I've probably said this a couple of times already during this conversation, but like what is happening now is not working even to get the project started. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I mean, you need to fix this before you start. And the question is how do you fix this with them? Because honestly, if you've got 17 cooks in the kitchen here, this is going to be a nightmare project and it's going to be a disaster. You got to get
Oh yeah.
you got to get everyone in their own lane. And it's actually I think it's a really good opportunity for you to highlight, like, hey, I know you've hired me to do this, but in order to do this, we need to get our ducks in a row here. So,
Yep.
Instead of me emailing info at restaurant 101,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it's I'm talking to Mike. I'm going to call him when I need things, and then
Yep.
I'm going to if we want to do emails, I will email his personal email because this isn't working.
Yep. Exactly. And I think that's going to be part of the thing of moving forward. But I think the other thing is that because I tried to do that right away, I tried to just kind of speak to the people that were like the most responsive and clearly not as overwhelmed. And it was very quickly like, hey, we got to keep this in the group conversation. And now I have to pull them back and be like, guys, the group conversation is not working.
No, and this is how we're going to do the group conversation. I'm going to ask you for something, and then
Yeah.
you're going to go talk to the group, and you're going to get consensus, and you're going to get the information, then you're going to give it back to me.
That's where I think the breakdown is going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you're seeing it now, it's only going to get worse. You need to
Yep.
nip that in the bud.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, again, like I can only be available for so many calls that people don't show up to if I'm gonna fix it. You know what I mean? So it's just gonna be we'll see if I got up early for one today and it never happened. And
that's really frustrating.
at 9:30 or it was supposed to happen at 8:30, and like 8:45 I was like, guys, what's going on? And one of the guys was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, perfect. So
yeah.
Yeah,
so that's I mean, if you're gonna have calls, man, you need to get everyone's email. Well, I don't know if they use Google Calendars, but anyway,
that's the problem. It's exactly what Leanne said to me. She's like, "Oh, just make an invite." I was like, "Leanne, you have to understand this is not a realm where people are using technology. People are not using technology because, for the most part, you don't need technology to run a restaurant. You don't really. Like, yes, you need some pieces of it, but you don't need a fucking Google Calendar to like have your day operate. You can do it without it. It's just not as efficient, and it ends up in these kinds of problems, but you don't need it."
Yeah. This actually might be another use case for Adventure Planet. Event.
What, like turn into a marketing thing or into like a calendar?
Well, it's a
software?
calendar scheduling app, right? But if you're not using, if someone's using Microsoft, someone else is using Google, if someone's not using it at all, it's here's a text message with click on this link. Here's the event details, and then in the event, it's there's call this number. Click on this link, and it'll call this number for you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you could definitely. I don't know what it provides as an added thing because you're already contacting your friends, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
It's
I
a
think
half-baked idea.
like you can definitely look at software like Calendly and Monday and all these kinds of different things and see if you can incorporate any of that stuff. But that's all like productivity. So I'm not sure necessarily if you want to provide too many options and then all of a sudden it's like overwhelming and nobody uses it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not there yet, but who knows?
So
yeah, man.
I don't know.
Let's hopefully you get this sorted out this week. It'd be nice.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. And then moving forward, it's just I got to keep hammering this stuff out. So I have to, I'm trying to get a schedule going with Instagram posts and blog creation and all this kind of stuff, and trying to dedicate, specific days of the week, basically.
Yeah.
Break everything up and be like, Fridays is for this and this is for this and Tuesdays is for calls and all that kind of stuff. So,
woke up not super early this morning, but early enough, started work, like got my day going, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning for me here. And it's like, I've knocked off a lot of things that were like absolutely needed to get done. So it's, it's just about kind of staying home, putting your head down and getting going. But also, one of the things that I'm trying to balance now is how do I have social time because I'm literally by myself in my apartment all day. Other than like going to jujitsu and, my friends are trying to murder me early in the morning. But like I have to schedule some sort of social time in daily or else I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah, it's awesome. You just
But
go
I also,
crazy. You
but
just go absolutely crazy. That's what
oh,
happens.
I know. I'm like, I need like re-entry into society training. So, but like how to do that without spending a bucket of money, right? Like I don't want to go for dinner every night because that gets expensive quickly.
The
So
hard the hard thing I found is that like this is I consider a social thing and
yeah,
it's not. It's a like kind of a work thing. And so I have like three other people that I'm talking to about like projects and it's
yeah,
like just more fucking work. You know what I mean? But it's just I don't know, it's
yeah. But
I
shop talk is good. Like, it's nice to be able to talk shop and like even though we're in different businesses, it's nice to like have these chats.
like I had a call with Ross when I was in Boston. He's like, oh, I messaged him like, hey, I'm having a real problem with Google Ads. Can you help? And 2 days later, he was like, yeah, what's up? Like, I'm on lunch. Call me. And then I talked to him for an hour, and he like the first half hour was us like just talking about life and stuff. And I was like, look, like I actually really need to solve this if you're down to help me, and I
Yeah.
understand you're on a crunch. So, but
Ross
you
is
know,
awesome, man. He's a great human being.
yeah, he's going to be the next. He'll be the first guest
That'd be so fun.
on our thing, just being like, hey, so we're trying to do marketing and we suck.
Yeah.
So
He can
here's
point
Ross.
fingers at both of us and just laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what this color's stupid, or you
Yeah.
don't need this, or whatever. So
Yeah. Don't do it like this, you dummy.
yeah, exactly. He offered to like look over some stuff and be like, I'm happy to tell you if you're getting taken advantage of or not.
Yeah.
So far I don't feel that way. Like I've spent $300.
That's pretty
So
good.
I don't feel taken advantage of at all. But
Hey,